Ouch. So I haven't done this in a while. I haven't made a video. And this is awkward to get back into. Um, I've had a couple of aha moments or revelations. I've had some revelations in the last few days. Um, and this is going to be a little long-winded. Sorry. uh, this is all part of my process. One of the things that's been driving me crazy is it's one thing to have a talent, but it's another thing to know how to use it. People always tell me that I'm a very talented writer. And what kind of writer am I? And I have I've tried so many different things. I found one of my revelations in the last few days is when it comes to my writing, I was sort of compromising my process without knowing it, because in a lot of ways, I don't really know myself well. In, my life has been a series of turns. I was so busy trying to do for others and not so much for myself. So all these revelations sort of fit together. I realized, I sat down the other day and started journaling, which I used to do 6-7 years ago. And journaling, I would journal, I'd write down my thoughts, carry around my book, write down thoughts, things that I've had. Journaling allows me to, because I'm so broad and I'm out and then in, allows me to see my own words and then read them back so that I can process them a different way than just hearing them in my head, so to speak. And when I was journaling, I'll go back later and be inspired, and that's where my poems come from. A lot of the poems and the things that I write actually came from journaling. And I compromised that process because of this other thing. And stopped journaling and was just trying to write poems and thoughts, which didn't work so well. So the other thing that I realized, 7 years ago, I was angry. I've spent a lot of my life sort of angry and frustrated, and I got really tired of being that way. So I had to really sit and look about why I was angry. And not just the branches. I imagine it like a tree, and it's not just the branches and this branch and this thing. This little thing makes me angry, but what's the root of it? What are my roots of anger? And as I faced that and learned more about myself, I got to a point where I'm in much better understanding and ease when it comes to anger. So I'm not as offended anywhere near as much as I used to be. But the one I realized this week is anxiousness. And I prefer the term anxious instead of anxiety, because anxiety, I've had this notion or this thought that anxiety means that you can't handle life. Like I had like one panic attack. I've had like 2 panic attacks in my life, or anxiety attacks. But I don't know why that association came up with me. Anxiety just means like I'm sitting around going like, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. Anxiousness, and the word anxious for me, makes me look more at the state that my body is staying in. So I've realized after dealing with the anger that I've lived in a constant state of anxiousness. One of the things that I've realized about myself is anytime I had to start looking at what makes me anxious, and try to find the pattern so that I can get off the branches and down into the roots. Um, and a lot of things make me feel anxious. I always, when I have any interaction, my first thought was always, how is this going to hurt me later? Right? And so I was talking to a friend of mine, love her to bits, and she was telling me that anxiety, and I have it written down, anxiety is when you make it okay, you have an expectation of future pain, is what anxiety technically actually means. And so I had like that clicking moment where it was like, oh, well, I do that all the time. Even in simple things. When somebody asks for a phone number, or I'm hesitant, I get anxious. How's it going to hurt me later? And I realized that a lot of that is, I don't know, when it comes to anxiousness, I don't know myself very well. I didn't know that I was doing that. And in doing that, because I was in a constant state of anxiousness, it makes me behave in a certain way, and so I'm not really starting out on my best foot forward. I've already sort of crippled myself, because I'm going to, and not being able to see that anxiousness, I'm going to respond to things in a way that sort of helps create more of the same. So it feels really good. It feels really good to notice things. And then I sat and I thought, like, well, what does healthy me look like dealing with anxiousness? But I don't know. I was never aware of it until now. And so now that I know, I can start making conscious choices. I get anxious so I'm a very giving person, and I don't like to see people upset. So when somebody's having a hard day, I immediately put my needs to the side, and I focus on that person. I have this belief that if someone's upset and you help them to feel better, and that they will in turn feel better, and then be kind, like a circle of giving, right? Here I am, I've let you talk it out, or I've helped, or I've been supportive in some way so that you could get unstuck in whatever's making you feel bad. And that in turn means that because you don't feel bad, you're going to be nice and kind. And that's just a circle of giving. But anxiousness is when you put somebody's needs. I feel anxiousness when I'm putting somebody's needs. I mean, I'm making it okay for somebody else and not making it okay for me. And so it's okay to be supportive. It's okay to jump in and do that for people. But if I have a need, then I need to express it. Like, I can't. I think that because so many people are damaged nowadays, that some people sort of get used to having that help. I think it's a subconscious, sort of mailed in. A lot of the time, people will enjoy that help, and then rather than like getting better or staying happy longer, they get in a habit of always sort of being in a state of crisis. And if someone's always in a state of crisis, then I'm always making it okay for them and not for me. I do that in so many ways. And that makes me anxious, because I'm not, and when I'm anxious, when I'm stuck in a feeling that I can't see, I'm not processing properly. And that comes from all the stuff I've learned in this week. Is I have to, journaling, I've realized, is extremely important to me. It's something that I need to maintain no matter where I am. I do like being alone. I like having alone time. I enjoy being social. I can be very outgoing, but I need 1 to 3 hours a day where I'm with myself without any distractions, so that I can journal, so I can process, so I can do what I need to do for me to ease that sort of anxiousness. And I understand why I got stuck in, how's this gonna hurt me? How's this gonna hurt me? How's this gonna hurt me? Um, when you don't know yourself well and you try to cater to other people, it can just go horribly wrong. And I don't, like, in my life, I don't like to hurt people. I don't like to cause others pain. And so I guess in my anxiousness, I sort of avoided it to some degree. I just try to make it okay, and I don't know what I do, but it's hard for me to put in the words. I mean, I'm still processing this video as part of the processing. And the only reason I make the video, just like the chaotic rites I do sometimes, is, number one, it forces me to be vulnerable. It forces me to do something that I actually find uncomfortable, even though sometimes I seem very at ease with it. In one hand, I'm at ease, in the other hand, I've had a lot of people in my life tell me I'm hard to get to know. It's hard to know what I'm thinking. And for a long time, I couldn't understand that. But now I'm getting a much better grasp on why that happens. So I made this video. That's the other reason for making the video, is for transparency. You never know where your aha moments are going to come from. And it's usually when you least expect it. I mentioned in one of the last videos I mentioned the expectation of being offended. That had a profound effect on me. And I read something the other day that also was a big deal. And that was, don't compromise the process, right? That one's really sticking with me lately. So it's my goal not to compromise my process, and to keep doing this. Because it helps me. And I hope that if it helps somebody else, that's great. And if not, I mean, it helps me, so it's just a benefit anyway. So those are my current thoughts in what I've discovered in the last 3 to 4 days, and my progress so far with those things. And it's interesting because the moment I started journaling again and figuring out, getting to know myself, the writing is coming easier. The thoughts and the ideas, and I'm not so stagnant. It's a really interesting, there was one time on the boat when we had to, not the stanchions, oh, he's going to kill me for not knowing this. Like the backstays, the metal that holds up, the metal rigging that holds up the mast where it meets on the deck. One of them was leaking, and it came time to take off the stuff, put down some butyl for sealing so that it would stop running down the pole inside the boat. And I was outside holding it as he tightened from the galley, as he tightened it up from the galley. And I did not, it's hard to know something if you don't know it. If you can't see something, you don't see it. It's mind-boggling to me. So he was tightening and tightening and tightening, and this was a whole new concept for me, because I'd never realized that, I thought that when you tighten something, it gets tight to a point where you can't turn it. Not that it would keep going. And what ended up happening is I missed that sort of zone where it was perfect, and because he kept going, it was slowly pulling the counter up, which was totally new to me. And maybe that's naive and silly, but that moment really stuck with me because he was a little bit annoyed with me, and I've never had any idea of that concept. It was not something that was in my purview, or in my understanding, or in my knowledge base anywhere. So it was an honest mistake on my part, and had a big effect on and then so a lot of the times It's like I tell people, you have to be more specific. I can be annoying because because my mind works so differently, or I process so differently. Um, I was in the habit for many years of saying, like, I don't know, when somebody would say, I don't know what that means, can you be more specific? Or if you're going to ask me a question, or if people talk to me. I try not to make the assumption that they're like me, or, but I have to ask a lot of questions. You know, you can say something to me, and I can see it in 25 different ways. If I can see it from 25 different perspectives, and I need to know which road, I have to ask questions and ask questions so I can figure out which road, so that I know I'm understanding you properly, and I'm not making assumptions based on what I think you're saying. Like, that's gotten me in trouble my whole life. So I know this is a little long, and I'm sorry. And I know you don't have to watch it if you made it this far. I appreciate it. Thank you. And that's it. Those are my thoughts for this week. I think maybe I'll try to. I'm only gonna make these things when I feel inspired, or I've made some kind of progress, or I have some kind of thought that I feel is maybe helpful or something. Anyway, I'm a little bit jumbled. It's a beautiful day, and I'm very sweaty. And I've been having some health issues lately. And I don't like that. I think I need to be careful about how much sun exposure I get, which really kind of sucks because I love being in the sun. I love being outside. So I've had so many things, and I'm not going to ramble anymore because I don't want this to be longer than 20 minutes. But that's where I'm at. That's what's going on. I'm proud of me. I feel like I'm making progress. I feel like and it's only a benefit to everybody else. If I can actually know myself and understand myself, then that's a benefit to everybody I interact with. And it's part of me hates that it's taken me to almost 50 to figure it out. But what can you do? It's my life has been a bit crazy and all over the place.